This is breaking news. The U.S. orders Ukraine to leave the fronts. This is breaking news today. Ukraine is collapsing. NATO orders Ukraine to leave the front lines and asks all troops to return to cities immediately to seek shelter. What does that mean? 1. Will NATO intervene immediately? 2. Will peacekeeping forces enter Western Ukraine to freeze the war? 3. Or will NATO simply attack? Last night, former NATO Supreme Allied Commander and U.S. Admiral James Stavridis stated that NATO may be planning to attack Russia's ships in the Black Sea. Can you imagine? Russia will also prepare for a NATO attack. He said NATO ships should escort grain carriers in the Black Sea and, if necessary, open fire in response to Russian warships. Also last night, Ukrainian President Zelensky publicly pleaded with the NATO Secretary General to urgently convene the Ukraine NATO Council in light of the defeat of Ukrainian armed forces in Odessa and the loss of NATO equipment. Zelensky asked NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg to urgently convene the Ukraine NATO Council. Stoltenberg listened to the vassal's request. He convened a meeting of the Ukraine NATO Council for today, July 26. The elder said it back in October 2022. He said, "My children, if NATO enters Ukraine when Zelensky calls them, it will not matter if they call it the peace force, because this move by NATO for the Russians will be a cause of war, and Poland will be used by NATO as one of the entrances of the NATO force on the territory of Ukraine. If this happens, then you will see a very different Russia. It will turn into a raging bear that will not pity anyone, and it will be like volcanic lava that will wipe out everything in its path." And also, breaking news too, Cuban leader Miguel Diaz-Canel, in light of the hostilities of actions of the alliance of NATO, Cuba is ready. Look at this. Cuba is ready to place Russian missiles again on its territory. What the frack? This is surreal. Cuba will let Russia place missiles on Cuban territory, facing obviously, the U.S. and, Florida. In 1999 and 2009, an American living in Ukraine saw two visions which he published. He saw that all of eastern Ukraine from the Dnieper River to the Russian border will be destroyed by 7 nuclear bombs from the U.S. There will be 2 evacuations of Kiev. The first when the Russian army invades Ukraine. The second just before the nuclear war between Russia and America started. He said that anyone left behind the second evacuation would die in a nuclear holocaust because a nuclear missile would hit Kiev. Comment: forget Germany. The global media began to prepare the ground. Wall Street Journal: a rapid loss of tanks and armored personnel carrier given to Kiev by the West for its counterattack on armed forces has shocked Ukraine and its allies. The losses suffered by the armed forces of Ukraine cast a shadow on the reputation of Bradleys, Leopards, and other weapon systems of the NATO countries. Biggest losses in the armored units of Ukraine caused by Russian helicopters. Financial Times of London says the West has nothing else to do to help Ukraine. The armaments are running out, and the stocks used by Kiev will have to be replenished for years. The Washington Post says Washington no longer believes that Ukrainians' ability to overcome Russian defenses. The Bild magazine of Germany says the German magazine Bild published a report in which it emphasizes that the losses of Ukraine's army are colossal. There is not enough equipment, and it's not possible to counterattack. The fact that all of these reports came out today suggests to me, the writer says, that the media was specifically instructed to begin an effort to change the narrative on Ukraine, to change it fast. Ukraine is in fact losing, and the end is near for them, so something has to be done, and very soon. Nuclear world war, it appears, is coming, and America has never been less prepared for it, because this coming war won't be only with tanks and infantry like the first two, World War I, World War II, and even though it will be nuclear, you should not just expect gigantic mushroom clouds that will use their entire arsenal, nuclear, biological, chemical, electromagnetic weapons, creating earthquakes and volcanic eruptions, etc. The psychopathic leaders of the world have made their decisions and will not stop at anything. Pray all day to Jesus Christ and to the Holy Trinity and to Our Lady that the consequences to people be as little as possible. And this I've translated for you from a Greek article. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support. Finally, support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.